Yes, Allison. I had been saying before we started the recording that I've kind of admired your work from afar. Some of the things that you've been saying, some of the arguments you've been in. I'll point that out.
Yeah,
I,
well,
you,
I should know better.
well, I want to get into the introduction and everything, but just so people know, this field is pretty, riddled with really opinionated people. I mean, that's why I think so much has gotten done in the field. But you need people to stand up against bad ideas, and hard ideas, and things that are not what's best for people or for the DIB. So, like, you're one of those voices that may not agree on every single thing, but it's one of those, like, I can at least trust that you believe what you're saying. You're not just saying it to, like, sell something, because you don't have a product to sell. You're an actual contractor dealing with all this stuff. So I've admired you and what you've said on LinkedIn. Some of the one thing I wanted to talk to you about was your work with the NDISAC stuff. So just the fact that you're not just in this for you're in it for money, but you're in it to provide for your family through your business. Like, it's not you're selling something to people through your views. You're actually
Thanks for noticing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but that's a big distinction, because that's the risk that all of us run, especially those of us like IntelliGRC who have a product. It's something that we're trying to be very careful and conscientious and genuine about. So
Right.
I really appreciate you. So let me get into the introduction. I want to know, as I said in the email, I there's a lot of content out there for CMMC and for GRC in general, governance and stuff like that. And I really want people, one thing I've seen as a void is people probably see a lot of talking heads, but they don't know that Alison is a real person with a real personal life that is dealing with real things and I want people to kind of to increase trust and bolster trust and faith in this person as a good faith actor. I want people to get to know you. In addition to all the professional stuff that we'll go over. So, if you're okay with it, my first thing is that I'd like mostly I like to do is if you could just talk about where you grew up and how you grew up, and how that led into the person personally that you are today, as well as professionally. If we could just start there.
Sure. Oh gosh, how long we got? Okay.
We got it all.
So I am originally from Metairie, Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. And so I enjoy the heat and humidity. So anytime I know, I'm sorry. So anytime somebody gripes about, the 107 degree heat humidity, I'm like, okay, I kind of like this. But no, so I grew up kind of in the swamp. I mean, it was suburban Louisiana, but at the same time we had a big swamp in the center of the neighborhood. And I remember my dad telling me go outside and catch frogs when it would rain. And I was 5 or 6, and I'd come back with frogs and I'd put them in our little wading pool, and he'd tell me, okay, now count them. And it wasn't until my 20s that I turned to him and I said, they would jump out and I'd have to start over counting, and I would be out there for hours. And my dad said, it took you until your 20s to realize that's how I keep you busy.
Keep you busy.
So
nice.
That's
I need to employ that with my children. We don't have a swamp, but I'm sure we could figure something similar out.
So that was kind of my childhood. So it was a fun outdoor childhood that I think a lot of us 80s kids can attest to.
Mm-hmm.
We moved to right outside of Atlanta when I was in elementary school. My dad had gotten a new job, and so we moved. My mom was an education curriculum teacher, a curriculum writer for CNN. My dad, his job was to essentially get companies out of the red in order to have them sold. And so he kind of he'd get a company into the black, company would get sold, and then he'd move on to another company. It was kind of an interesting,
like a financial advisor type deal, like a like a board member type thing.
It wasn't even really a board member. It was kind of we just always knew if Dad joined a company, it meant the company wasn't doing well. And then once Dad left the company, it meant, okay, company was sold, Dad's doing something else. He was initially a banker, and that kind of moved into other things. So he was always very good with money. He was a big stock market guy. He always believed in you bet on what you know. Those kind of things I think were instilled in me in an early age.
Yeah.
So in 2006, I left my corporate job. I'd gotten right out of school. I had gone to work for a big corporation, and out of Georgia. I went to school at UGA. Go Dogs. Loved it. It was what do they call it? A drinking school with a football problem.
A drinking school with a football problem.
Yes.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
No, it was a blast. I mean, I had a great time and met some of my best friends there. And a couple years, like I said, went to corporate America, learned a lot, realized this is not going to be for me, because I got
long term. Yeah.
I got in trouble for first couple weeks for taking initiative and doing something I wasn't supposed to do, because I wasn't going to jump through red tape. So I did some things that maybe I should have asked for permission. It turned out I got some stuff done. It just wasn't in the order I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Wow. So I said, okay, well, maybe I need to kind of keep that in the back of my mind.
I need the juicy deets on that. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, what had happened was,
here we go.
So there was a database that I don't even know what I'm supposed to say. There was a database that we had, and there was a cleanup effort that we were doing. And if you turned off connection to certain things, there were going to be repercussions to customer data. Well, the database was a mess, and I could tell that certain data had not been communicated with in years. And so I thought, well, let's just turn it off and see if anybody else, right? I mean, that's how to get it working, right?
Yeah.
Here I was 22 years old, right?
Like, experiences.
Easy, right? So I did that. Well, it worked, and I saved the company a decent amount of money. And then somebody found out that it worked, and I didn't go through the motions of the right way of asking. So that's when I got in trouble.
Allison.
So, I know.
Corporate America, baby.
I know, right? So a job opened up at the same company. I was very excited. I was like, I'm going to go for this job. It was going to require traveling. I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to be in my 20s. I'm going to be living the life, right? And I went for the job, and I didn't get it. And I called my dad crying. I didn't get the job, through the sobs, right?
Yes.
I'm going to quit my job. And he's like, you're not going to quit your job until you find a new one. You're not, very dad
wisdom.
Advice, right?
Wisdom.
So I called my parents' neighbor, who I had pet sat for when I was in high school. And I said, I want to come work for you. And he said, you don't even know what I do. And I said, I don't really care. I need a new job. And my dad said that I needed a new job before I quit this one. He said, well, you can come in for an interview. So I walked into Win-Tech, and I remember walking into the lobby and smelling the oil, smelling the machine shop. If you've been into a machine shop, walking in and going, oh, I don't know that I like this, because I come from, corporate America, the marble lobby, 22nd floor, right? Overlooking downtown Atlanta. I'm like, ugh, I don't know that I like this very much. And I walk into his office, and we start talking, and he says to me, well, I think I could hire you on as a kind of a special projects person. And it was kind of funny, because I thought, well, it's kind of what my dad does, right? And I thought, well, it's not like Win-Tech's in the red, so I guess I'd be here long term, but I don't really know what I would be doing. And I said, oh, okay, well, what does it pay? And he slid the number across the table to me, and it was 30% less than what I was making. And I was heartbroken. And he said, if you trust me, I think you could run the place one day. And I thought, oh, that sounds really nice. That sounds really nice. So I came home, and I had just bought a townhouse with, I just bought a townhouse not too far from Win-Tech. And my fiance had moved in, and I came home, and I said to Matt, now he's my husband, and I said to Matt, what do I do? And he said, well, I know you, and you don't like being told what to do. What a smart man.
Oh, wow.
And he said, so you need to decide, is money important or is autonomy important? And, what do you want,
Yeah. Being happy in your job. Is that better than, yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, why not? I'm going to jump in, and what the heck? If I had the support of somebody I was getting married to, why not? So I called Dennis and said, all right, I'm going to do this. So for the next several years, I tried to learn everything I possibly could. And for somebody with an undergraduate degree in psychology and criminal justice,
working in a machine shop.
Yeah. The first thing that Dennis did was he put me in charge he handed me a VHS tape, and he said, this is about lean manufacturing. Go learn it. I was like, cool story. All right.
Cool.
Went home, watched it, might have fallen asleep. It was a process. It was all about having to kind of try to gain the respect of people on the floor, not trying to come across as somebody who, the nepotism. Oh, Dennis knows her. She was a neighbor. Of course she's going to be hired.
Earning your place. Yeah.
Ridiculous, But I learned a little bit about everything, and one thing led to another. And soon I had learned pretty much everything that there was in the operation space, in the business space.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't know how to run any of the machines, but I knew just enough to be dangerous. I knew that if you put a print in front of me and you said, okay, how would you go about this? I could make something up to where you probably wouldn't want to follow my directions, but I'd be on the right track. I got very good business relationship with John, who was now my business partner, who had been here for 10 years prior to me being here.
Right, yeah.
And he started at Win-Tech, essentially pushing a broom, showing up one day saying,
wow,
yeah, I'll work at Win-Tech. He pushed a broom. He learned how to run every single machine. And now he knows everything about the shop floor. But
isn't that something that, and that was my dad's story too. He works at SAIC now as one of their lead system engineers, but he started there like helping them clean filters on like the HVAC unit or the fan unit for the server room. Like,
that's awesome.
Just basic janitorial maintenance work. And just how, and I think it's just a philosophy that everyone could take away. It's like, and I think the government's seeing this more and more, by the way. That's why it seems like the USA jobs and all the GS level jobs are starting to lax up on the degree requirements and stuff like that, because they're starting to realize people who actually know how to do something are way more efficient and money saving. And but isn't that something how long it took society to realize that?
Because they understand the inner workings of it too. It's not so much hey, I took a couple classes in this and I kind of understand this. I mean,
but you've been here in our company too. Like,
right.
We're hiring from within. I feel like that has got to be the best business model. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems so logical.
Yeah. So I worked at Win-Tech a few years, and then in 2009, I was leaving to go grab lunch on a Thursday in June, and I get a phone call from my husband of 5 months, and he said, you need to go to your mom's house right now. And my dad had passed away very suddenly, very unexpectedly. And it was a very sudden thing. It shocked everybody, kind of turned my world upside down.
Right.
And it was rough. It was tough. And then a couple of months after that, my world kind of got turned upside down again with some Win-Tech things, and the owner ended up going through a divorce. And that was rough because he was a second dad. He still is a second parent to me. And so there were a lot of, they talk, if you ever read the book, True North, by, I believe, John Maxwell, I think. I might have that wrong, but the book is called True North. They talk about in your life, there's kind of a crucible that you have, that a lot of people have, kind of not a turning point, but a defining point, I think, in your life.
Yeah, it changes the course of their life forever.
Yeah, you put a pin in it and you say, these are kind of when certain things got either solidified, or that I changed my mind about things, or, and I think a lot of those things happened then. I think I became more understanding then. I think I learned to give people more grace then. But I also became more grateful, I think, then. And couple years after that was when my mom and I were talking, and we decided, we really need to do something in Dad's honor, because he was a sports fanatic, and he just loved helping people, but he wasn't the kind of person like who would make a big deal out of it. And so I started a nonprofit in his name called the Dave Krejci Foundation, and it helps kids in Metro Atlanta play sports when their families can't afford it.
What was the name of this?
The Dave Krejci Foundation.
Dave. How do you spell the Krejci?
Krache.
ACHE Foundation.
And so
I'm gonna look into that a little bit.
It's been a labor of love. It started in 2012, and
that's awesome. It's incredible.
To date, we've helped 1,900 kids.
Whoa, that is. When did it start? You said 2012.
2012.
Wow.
Yeah. It's 100% volunteer organization. All done through volunteer, family and friends. We have a couple of small events every year, because we're volunteer based. It's not like
you're working with what you got. Yeah.
But wow. Yeah, it's funny, because every time that a lot of things happen, and my plate gets full of work things and life and just everything, and I'm like, we gotta wrap this up. I gotta find somebody to take this on, or we gotta fold this thing, or kind of wrap this up, spend the money and close it up. I can't do this anymore. We get some random, either anonymous donation or something, or someone will call.
It keeps it going.
Yeah. And so
it says, no, you're not allowed to shut up shop.
That's exactly what it is. The joke is that my dad from the other side is going, no, I'm not done. No, I'm not done. So yeah, so that's kind of my side thing. I got involved with another nonprofit a few years ago, a domestic violence shelter. So I'm chair of that. So I think
you're a busy woman.
I know, right? between that, and between Dave Krejci Foundation, and between small, medium business stuff, I think the commonality is, and this goes back to being a kid too, is I've always been one to want to try to fight for people that don't have the voice. To try to help give people that step up, or the people that need that
to be seen
boost, or that voice. But yeah, I was always the kid. I was the kid on the bus in 4th grade that, I was the only friend, or I was the friend of the only black girl, and somebody called her a name, and so I may or may not have punched him in the nose and got suspended.
Why does that not surprise me from the stuff we talked about earlier, the arguments that I've seen, that you just say what you think?
Sorry.
Why does it not surprise me you punched a dude in the face?
It was 4th grade. It was a different lifetime.
Hey.
So, I think that's kind of the commonality is, I'm an older sister, so, I don't let people.
Did you have siblings? Did you have any siblings?
Yes. I got one younger sister, 4 years younger than me.
I thought you were saying I'm an older sister at heart kind of thing, but you actually are an older sister.
I really am. Yeah. But my sister's 4 years younger than me, but as she's gotten older, she's become, I believe, more of a badass than I am. So I'm kind of scared of her. So
you don't mess with her too much anymore.
No.
Well, that is, that's incredible. The amount of work that's got to go into how much you're doing. Setting aside Win-Tech, because we're going to get into that, but setting aside the Win-Tech, the NDISAC stuff, all the CMMC stuff that you're really trying to influence, and I noted, but just to hear about this extra foundation, how many hours do you think you're spending just cramming to get stuff done, per week? It's got to be crazy.
I don't know. I'm really good at time management. Like I think if
I'm
I've got
not. So maybe that's where.
I'm like my organization skills. If there's any like superpower I have, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It ebbs and flows. We have a really good board of directors. So I'm kind of the executive
Cool.
director of sorts for the foundation.
Yeah.
The unpaid ED. And so we've got the board is great. They make all the decisions. I just kind of, I do what they tell me to do. So essentially it's just me managing a heck of a lot of emails. Certain points of the year, as I'm sure any parent with kids in sports can tell you, is there are certain parts of the year that get crazier. Certain registration dates and things like that. So there'll be some months where I'll have hundreds of emails to go through. And honestly, I'll do it at about 1:00 in the morning at the house, and I schedule the emails. So I don't send emails at 1:00 in the morning. They're scheduled to go out at
you use
8:30.
Your brain and the features of Outlook to do that.
Not going to play that game.
Yeah. I've had my share of checking up on emails and not realizing what time it is and sending out emails at like 2 a.m. So that's not the best thing. I agree with your position. Let's not do that. Let's be careful about that.
Because the worst thing is when they reply and then you're like, oh, now I have to reply back because they know I'm right here.
Right. You're at your desk or at your phone because you felt, or they think you're a jerk for sending them something at 2 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. Well, do you have kids?
No.
No kids?
No, I don't even know that I have any time, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, man, that's got to be crazy complicated fun.
Right.
But hey, time management being a skill set of yours.
No kidding.
It is supernatural, I think, at that point. Let me ask you. So you started at Win-Tech. What was the year when you went from
2006?
2006.
I started at Win-Tech.
Okay. From 2006, the owner of the company had a divorce, had a lot of stuff come up. How did you get to where you are now in Win-Tech specifically? Because I think the biggest priority for me is I want people to, especially on the CMC side of the things that are kind of learning from you, to understand your background that led you to actually caring about this stuff. So how did you get to where you were in Win-Tech?
So I think I've always been, I've always loved computers and security and IT. And, I was, I think in the 90s, late 90s, I had a GeoCities website, I back in the old days or whatever you want to call it, the AOL chat rooms and all that kind of fun stuff. So I loved that kind of stuff. So I was comfortable enough knowing that when NIST 800-171 came into the conversation and started getting flowed into contracts, I walked into Dennis's office and said, hey, this new thing is getting put into these contracts. And we're primarily a subcontractor for a lot of things. So I'd probably say 60 to 80% any given month we're a subcontractor to things. I walked into his office and said, there's this 7012 clause. It's new, or it's new-ish. I think we need to start doing this stuff. I have not wrapped my head around everything yet, but I just want to give you a heads up. And Dennis, who was already very frustrated that I had made him give up the shared MindSpring email, said, I don't know that we need to do any of this. And I said, well, no, I think we do. It's kind of in there
in our contract.
We need to kind of do these things. And he said, well, put it together. Tell me what I need, tell me what it looks like. And he was very frustrated.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Many people are.
I get it because we, at the time, and heck, even now, as machine shops and manufacturers, we're beaten down. It is priority of get me the best price. It's how quickly can you get this part to me? And oh, by the way, it better be perfectly conforming. It better be right. It's those three things. And it's always been those three things pretty much in that order. And maybe a mix. But now all of a sudden it's, and you should have had the data secure all along. Okay, but that's never been a part of the conversation. Yes, it's been in the contracts, but you know what else has been in the contracts? Human trafficking, conflict minerals, reach, all these other things, packaging and shipping clauses. We don't talk about any of those. So I understood the perspective, even not as an owner yet, but I understood his frustration because I think we joke, there's a CUI Discord.
Yeah.
There's a joke out there. I just want to make parts. And that's it. I just want to make parts. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where he was headed. And so I would come to him with kind of the baby steps. So I came to him and showed him kind of these are not really a formal gap assessment, but at the time, I don't think I really knew what that was. I came to him and said, came to him and said, here's kind of what we're looking at, what we need to be doing and what we're not. And his question to me was, well, how much is this going to cost me?
Exactly.
And I said, well,
that's the number one question, isn't it?
I don't know. Do you want me to go find out? Well, yeah, go find out. So then my challenge was, well, now I got to find who knows anything about this stuff.
And this is what year, like 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah. A year or two after it started showing up in the contracts. Yeah.
Yep. And then it was, it was me trying to find somebody who kind of knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But, it was sketchy at best. And then it got to the point where things were rough at Win-Tech in 2018. Business was it was a weird time. Expenses were high. Work was steady, but I remember things just being very expensive. And I don't know if it was just the ebbing and flowing of things or what, but our owner, and I'm not saying anything that we've not said to his face. I love Dennis to pieces. He had mentally retired. He was pretty much done.
Yeah.
And John, my now business partner, and I, we were frustrated because we were having to essentially do the stuff that Dennis was committing to. And it was hard because we knew we weren't doing the stuff we were saying we were doing. And we knew that we were losing our shirts on stuff that he had misquoted. And it was futile. Every day you'd wake up and you'd come in and it was like another day. I mean, the joke kind of got to be like, are you going to be up on the roof? Yeah, I'll see you there. I mean, it was just like,
yeah.
And then
wow.
One day, one of us walked into the other's office and we said, I think we should quit. And like, okay, well, I can't remember if it was him or me, but one of us said, well, why don't we ask for a raise first? Would you do this for more money? And the other was like, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is I knew what he made. He didn't know what I made because I did payroll. He knew he could reasonably guess that I made less than him because I was there, 15 years less than he was. So that was a good assumption.
Right.
I was the office manager at the time. He was shop manager. So in a way we were equals, sort of, kind of. I mean, again, right. He had a lot more
tenure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I agreed with him. I said, yeah, okay, let's go talk to him. So we did some homework first. We did some research and we said, okay, what would a shop manager make in any other company? What would an office manager make in any other company like ours? And yeah, we were underpaid. And we went down the list and we put everything together, what it is we did every day.
That glass door.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was.
She'd be looking at glass door.
It was beyond glass door.
I'm sure.
Yeah. We walk into his office, we sit down, and we said, we need to talk. And he sat back in his chair, and he kind of smiled, almost like he knew it was coming. And he said, about what? And we said, we're exhausted. We said, you're doing things that are dumb. You're doing things that don't make sense. And we still have a very good relationship with him. And we could say these things carefully.
Respectfully, but right. Honestly. Yeah.
Right. With the door shut.
Yeah. So nobody else got any wise ideas.
and we said, we're having a really hard time because this is an uphill battle. And, we had tapped out a credit line. Dennis had loaned the company money out of a savings account. I mean, it was a mess. And we were going to be okay, but it was needless. Like, it was just needless. And he said, okay, well, what do you want? And I said, well, we want raises. And he said, well, what kind of raises? And I said, 10%. And he kind of sat back and he smiled and he went, okay, fine. Like he didn't even ask why or didn't ask for justification. And I remember thinking, again, quick math in my head, and I was like, damn, did I leave money on the table, right?
You did.
and John kind of sat there and got kind of quiet. And Dennis said, do you think this is easy? And we said, no, we never said it was, but we said we're frustrated because you're making decisions that neither of us would be making. And Dennis said, okay, how about this? He goes, I'll start kind of passing off some of the responsibilities to the two of you. I said, okay. And then we started saying okay and wrapping the conversation up, and we started I got my paperwork together thinking, man, that was a waste to do, right? Stood up and John didn't stand up. And I'm looking at him like, come on, before he changes his mind. And John says, no, I changed my mind. And I'm like, what is he changing his mind about? John says, I want Allison to make what I make. I was like, holy beep.
Wow.
And that was a significant jump.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy cow. And he said, she does what I do. It's just on this side of the wall. And Dennis sat back and he smiled again and he went, all right, fine, done. And he said, and starting Monday, the two of you run Win-Tech with my money. And if you like it, in a year, you can buy it from me.
Whoa. Wow. Out of nowhere. That wasn't even part of your all's thought process, right? It was owning the company, right? Ever.
Maybe one day, like we hadn't really had serious conversations about it.
Except for that one time he mentioned it to you, right? Like you could be running this place one day. Yeah.
And it was kind of like, and there's no turning back then, right?
Right. You're kind of stuck.
Yeah. So we walked out. We walked out, and I think Dennis had gone to lunch or something. It's a small office, so you can't really talk about much unless somebody's not there, right?
Maybe do a little high five.
He comes in my office and he's like, "Oh God, what did we do?
What just happened?"
Like, I don't know. And so we came up with a game plan, and we kind of set some ground rules, and we set who was going to be responsible for what. And essentially it was everything on that shop floor that happens, he was going to have ultimate say over, and everything that happened on this side of the wall, IT, HR, finance, whatever, I was going to have ultimate say. Now, we each had input into what was going on.
A little mini board. Yeah.
Yeah. But because there were only two of us and no tiebreaker, if there was ever a disagreement between the two of us, we agreed whoever was ultimately in charge of something, their side went. So like, okay. And we inherently trusted each other. And I think that spoke volumes when he said what he said about.
Yeah. John built the trust right then and there. Like, what in the world was that?
Right.
Risking all of his stuff. Wow.
And I knew, I was like, we both also knew each other's motivation. We wanted nothing more than to have Win-Tech succeed. Like that was it.
That's incredible.
Just to the cliff notes of the time between 2009 and 2018. I'm not under NDA, but I will say it would take several drinks to tell you all the stuff and drama that happened in between then. And there was a lot. We could have walked away at any point in time, and we didn't. And there was
stuck with it.
Win-Tech became family, and we weren't going anywhere. And so that was November of 2018. And I remember April of 2019, we had all the liabilities paid off. And John walked into my office and he said, "We're going to price ourselves out of this thing." He was almost right. Because that was a sticking point in the conversation.
Wow.
But so then in late 2019, Dennis said, you want to talk? You want to have a conversation? Do you want to buy this place? We said, yeah, let's talk. And then we started talking about it. And February of 2020, I came into his office and I said, there's this weird thing happening in China, and there's this stuff coming, and I think I need to go buy a lot of Lysol wipes or something. And he was like, it's no big deal. It's just everybody's overreacting to something. And I'm like,
it sounds like Dennis from what you've said so far. He's just trying to make parts.
There's just this thing. There's they're calling it COVID. I don't know. It's just something that we should probably be concerned with. He's like, no, I don't think so. And I didn't listen to him. And we went and basically bought up every Lysol wipe and Pine Sol and bleach you could imagine, stocked up some shelves at the shop. And
wow.
And yeah, and we stayed open during COVID. We had one of our best years. Knock on wood.
Wow.
We had no outbreaks. John and I assigned our maintenance person to every other hour walk around with Lysol wipes and sanitize every shared surface, every light switch, every doorknob, every other hour.
Good for you guys. Whoa.
No outbreaks.
That's unheard of. That's unheard of. And it was everybody, all the churches that we knew, that stayed open had issues here and there. No outbreaks. That's incredible.
We were, at one point I think we had someone, and we also were extremely sensitive on we told everybody, you wake up and you have a cough or a sore throat. No, stay home. We'll pay you. Just stay home. And people listened.
Wow.
We had one person I remember on a Sunday night call me, or no, it was a Monday night. It was a night shift. He calls and he's like, I'm on my way in. I just don't feel great, but I'm on my way. I'm like, no, turn around. So we had lots of close calls.
That sounds to me though, honestly, just as a kudos to your company, it sounds like you guys had the culture instilled, not just between you and John, but with the people of your company, to where they felt comfortable enough to be able to call in and feel like you're not going to think they're jerks and they're just using COVID as an excuse not to come into work. Yeah. So kudos to you for that, because I could imagine companies that have task orders to fill, parts to build, just a lot of work to do. To have somebody call in like that, it would be tempting, especially if it happened multiple times in a row, because there were people who got COVID back to back to back to back. I knew personally they got it back to back to back. Even after getting the shot, that was it would be tempting to assume that they're just trying to use this as a means to take the vacay.
100%. Especially when they started saying, especially when the government said, okay, here's some money for paid time off, extra paid time off.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. Some incentive to keep people home.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, kudos to you guys for that. Wow.
So we signed the paperwork officially October 1st, 2020, and took a selfie in John's office. And on October 1st of each year, now we look at it and we're like, God, we were so stupid and brave at the same time.
So you got through COVID, no outbreaks, signed the papers to buy the company during COVID.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
No, really dumb. Yeah.
It's really dumb. Hey, it's working out.
Whatever.
Probably. That's awesome.
Gonna count the frogs in the swamp. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Childhood. What is it? What is it when they say something from your childhood or your interaction with your parents affects your psychology later? What is it?
Oh man.
Freudian.
Oh,
it's a Freudian
much.
slip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So let me ask you, which, I mean, amazing story. That's so cool to hear. And you guys are doing well now, I'm assuming, even at posterior to COVID, things are going well.
It's weird. Well is relative, I guess.
It's subjective.
Last year we had a record year in revenue. It was a solid year, but I think we worked harder than ever to get there. I think that This year won't be as great. I think a lot of it has to do with cash flow challenges a lot of us are seeing in industry.
Yeah, Doge and all that jazz.
Exactly. The government really, its act together. It was a mess.
Yeah.
For 6 months.
Sometimes the things that need to happen are the most painful. And
whatever needs to happen, and it needs to happen yesterday, because somebody's got to hit some buttons on some orders. We're told, so as a subcontractor, we keep getting told from primes that we've got great relationships with. They keep calling us saying, we know that you're waiting on this order from us, and we have it with your name on it, but we've not gotten our official contract.
Right.
And, please sit tight. And we're like, we can't sit tight. I can't keep a machine open for you. I love you, but I can't keep a machine open for you.
We'll do what we can, but so I gotta put food on the table.
Yeah. So, we're picking up commercial work. And the irony there is we used to not be able to pick up commercial work because our prices were too expensive. Commercial companies didn't want to pay aerospace price.
But those tariffs.
Bingo.
Those tariffs, they got you. They're good for you guys.
Right? Now we're a steal.
Yeah. Now you're the cheapest in town. That's awesome. So, well, I think just with the character and the discipline that you guys have, though, you'll pull through. All things considered, I'm young. I know I'm relatively young, and I've got a lot to learn. But it just seems like I've heard over and over and over again that this is one of those hard seasons that will work itself out. So, would you agree with that, or do you see some actually genuinely concerning things that might be long lasting?
I don't know that I have been aware of cycles in long enough spans, and I think there's a lot of, the sky is falling from a lot of people too.
About a lot of things.
Yeah.
Not just tariffs. Yeah.
I try to be cognizant of, okay, well, who's warning me about this stuff? What do they have? What's their incentive to scaring the crap out of me? But it's a really good point. But at the same time, graphs don't lie. You can look at cash flow graphs, and you can look at things, and you can see the trends, and you can go, God, things were not where they were last year. And certain things scare me, like on the CMMC front, whether or not Win-Tech is good, and we are, if our subs aren't, that's a scary thing. Right. We don't have leverage like my big primes do. I can't force my subs to do anything, especially when my subs are people I have to go through at the behest of my primes.
So they're like required subs that have like an interconnection type service agreement with, where they're like, you have to use these people for this particular calibration of this particular part or something like that.
So I'll give you an example. A very specific example happened last week. So I'm going to make up some names. There's a prime that has a part, let's say it's a bracket, and that bracket is an aluminum bracket, and it has a finish that is an electroless nickel finish. And the electroless nickel finish, there's a special code, there's a special specification that's called out on the print. And technically it's just an industry specification. It's just a military spec that you can find on the internet. But they don't call it that. They call it this special prime spec. Now, you have to use one of those prime's approved processors. Now, when you go to that approved processors list and you look up that code, there are 5 approved processors. 2 of them aren't even in the US. I'm not going to play that game as a small processor that's making 2 brackets for the total order of $1,700. All right, so I'm down to 3, okay? So I'm working with 3. And this is just for spare parts for like DLA or somebody, right?
Yeah.
I've got 3 brackets. All right, or I'm sorry, three companies.
Yeah.
3 companies. Now, one of those companies won't quote to us because they are also a manufacturer and they're a processing house. They only process their own stuff. Why they're even listed on the list? That's a whole nother topic for another day.
Yeah.
So now I'm down to 2 companies. One is on the West Coast. Now I'm in Georgia. Okay, not a deal breaker, but if this were a bigger part and I was paying freight, I'd have to think about how I was handling this.
Right. Yeah.
The second company, I am not entirely convinced hires all U.S. persons. If you see where this is going.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm assuming because of the nature of the task order, the purchase order might have some export control data.
So now I have to go use that West Coast supplier that, oh, by the way, happens to be very backlogged. So now if I have spent a lot of money on making that part and buying that material and making that part, now I have a lot of material outlay. Now I'm sitting on a lot of cash flow.
Yeah.
Now I'm sitting on a lot. Now I have to wait for that company to confirm a quote that I may have gotten 6 weeks ago at time of quote. Maybe I did. I don't know. And now they confirm to me, yeah, we can do this part. By the time they receive the physical part and route it, and then they tell me, by the way, yeah, our tanks are down. We're having an issue. Or, oh, hey, we're in between audits right now. Or, hey, our quality manager's out on vacation, can't cert this for another 2 weeks. Oh, hey, you have all these other things. Yeah. All it takes is a drop. That now this tiny thing has exacerbated a bunch of other things, and you wonder, how does this affect the warfighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff makes me lose sleep at night.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme.
I don't think, and maybe this is just speculating for the sake of content. I'm generally trying not to do that. I don't think some of the things that I do want to get your thoughts on here, but this relates to them. I just don't think that some of the people at the top think about it at that level. I was talking to Ozzy. Ozzy.
Yep.
He told me that one of the relationships he had in the DoD, they were a contractor, and they were saying that they were one of almost 10,000 primes in this, or subs in the supply chain for one contract. I think it was for the Navy. How in the world of all the implications that we're talking about, and I know this is a big part of your shtick and a very, very, very legitimate one. How in the world is nobody asking the question, how does this affect the warfighter at the end of the day? If you're going to strip away and their ability to do this work because of this nuance or that nuance, that as much as you want to say it, DoD, that this has been required since 2016. I've said this before, which I do want to get your thoughts on because I'm very opinionated on that point. I do not agree with that statement. But as much as they want to say that, they're trying to put food on the table. How have they not thought that much about, if you're so dependent on commercial contractors doing work for the DoD, whether they're manufacturing or whatever, especially manufacturers in the MEP, how do you think they're not going to totally screw up the warfighter's experience and their safety and them getting equipment?
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
I'm with you. Thankfully, so John was invited, National Tooling and Machining Association, we're a member of, and he was invited to an Air Force base a couple of years ago. And he was told that it was going to be a conversation about supply chain. And there were going to be some, I don't know, 2 or 3.
Was this before or after COVID?
This was right after COVID.
Yeah.
And this was...
a lot of those conversations were happening right after COVID.
Exactly. And he was told there would be some 2 and 3 star generals and all that. Well, John is an Army veteran himself. And so he brought some show and tell. And he brought 2 brackets, in fact. One was processed and one was not. And he showed up, and when he was asked to kind of give some input on where he saw supply chain risk or where he saw things happening in the market, blah, 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 he brought up those 2 brackets. And he said, these 2 brackets, he's like, this one, if I have the material in stock, 2 hours, I'll have this part done for you. This one, 8 weeks. And they were like, whoa, time out. What's going on? And he walked them through it, kind of an example of what I just gave you. And
right.
If you're familiar with finishes, whether it's electroless, nickel, prime, and paint, don't get me started on paint. Right now in the marketplace, the paints, the special mil spec paints, with tariffs coming in, a lot of paint chemicals. Guess where they come from?
China.
Yeah, China.
Wow.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. So he brought that up, and I think people slowly started realizing what was going on. Funny enough, a couple hours before our conversation, I got off the phone with a customer who I brought up this challenge and this observation to them. One thing led to another, and now I will be having a phone call with one of their VPs in their global supply chain universe about kind of some brainstorming ideas that I've come up with. Last year, John and I called a bunch of our competitors and said, what do you guys do? Can we all talk? Like, let's just jump on a Zoom.
Right.
And let's either commiserate or share ideas if you're comfortable. Or, I think a decade ago, machine shops didn't do that. I think now we all realize
everybody was just so heads down on getting the orders out.
Well, that and competitiveness. I think the old school mentality was very like keeping your cards close to your vest. Like don't show your hand.
So now you're saying there's a lot of collaboration in the space.
I think there is now too. And I think there really is, because I think that the machine, those of us that are left, those of us that have not been acquired or merged, realize the pie is so big, we can't all have
the whole thing. Yeah.
Like
there's plenty of work to go around. We say that all the time here at IntelliGRC. We have competimates, right? Future feed, for example. We're like, there's plenty of work to go around, right? Like everybody needs help with this stuff.
Right. And in fact, in a way, if we all can collaborate, if the machine shops, if we all can get our message heard the same way, if we can sing the same song, then we actually have more leverage. And that's what we did. 10 of us got on the phone with our shared prime and said, hey, all 10 of us are having the exact same problems with the exact same processing houses. And here are the problems. And, notes were taken. There weren't significant moves forward, but things happened and stuff got put on radars. And I guess that's all you can really ask when you're a big ship, right?
You plant seeds on a lot of this stuff, and hopefully in the future. That's how a lot of projects are for our company. Got some really, really, really good ideas, but everybody's so busy. That's awesome. I mean, it's really cool to see just somebody who is actually not, again, it's somebody who is actually working in this and dealing with this. And so because of that, you're probably the first that I've interviewed. No, not the first, but you're one of the few that I've talked to from an OSC perspective that has actually said things and tried to contribute. So I do want to ask your opinion about a couple things that are kind of not necessarily hot topics. Like, again, I'm not trying to just clickbait, but I do want to ask you, because and I have a couple of things, specific things, but I do want to ask you. I just mentioned one of them that we hear over and over and over again, that this was required in your contract since 2016. And certainly D-First 7012 was, 2016, 2017, implemented by 2017, right? I'm going to give my opinion, but I want to hear just your gut reaction to that statement. What do you think about that statement every time you hear it? Because I think you have a similar perspective to mine, because I've actually worked with OSCs, unlike major talking heads, which I'm not trying to speak poorly about people who are trying to help in the industry by any means. There are a lot of good fact-based contributors, and I don't want to speak poorly, but there's also a lot of perspective, and it's influenced by real life experience. So anecdotes and things like that. So what is your reaction to that phrase? You've had this requirement since 2016, 2017.
When I hear that, or when I read it on LinkedIn, I can already tell you what the person's tagline is. It's somebody that has entered this industry in the last year. It's somebody that has never stepped foot in a machine shop. It's somebody who saw, oh gosh, the CMMC, there's going to be some money there. I think I'll get involved in that industry. My real reaction, my overall reaction to that statement is, yes, it was required. And so is being on time. And so is quality. So is an AS9100 cert.
NDA.
And so everything, right? And in fact, when you really dive into a lot of these contracts and purchase orders for a lot of primes, just government aside, a lot of the primes that flow this down, there are requirements to be 100% on time delivery. 100% on time delivery. Now,
there's no like SLA that allows for.
In a lot of cases, a lot of places, a lot of people like us, we don't have traditional SLAs. It's really just purchase orders. We have like NDAs and PIAs, but there aren't really traditional SLAs. It's really, hey, sign this PIA once a year, whenever they remember. And oh, by the way, here's a purchase order. And then it's by purchase order. And within that purchase order, there's terms and conditions and different, clauses there of proprietary to the prime. Most primes will say they expect and require 100% on-time delivery. Now, do most suppliers do that? I'm going to guess no. I know we don't. We're pretty good. I believe in July we're at 96%. That's pretty damn good considering 2 years ago I think we were at 70%.
Yeah, it sounds good from here. Not having any clue about it.
So no, we're not at 100%. So what happens if we're not at 100%?
Wait, you got to lose the contract?
I don't know. Are we? So I suppose maybe that's a silly, goofy, dumb philosophical way of saying, okay, well, if it's okay for me not to follow that, then it must be okay for me not to follow this over here. If I'm not going to be beholden to this, then why am I being beholden to this? You could argue that. The statement I keep coming back to is, when everything is a priority, nothing is a priority.
Wow.
When you've got a purchase order and it is for a sub-assembly for something that is going to take an F-35 off the ground, and that sub-assembly, your customer's hot for it, and you're being told, look, price was important, but it's not that important. Timing is more important. We need this yesterday. Okay, fine. We're pulling out all the stops. We're getting it done. We're calling up the processing house. Hey, we need this yesterday. Okay, great. Send me the print. All right, I'm going to send you this through a secure link. Well, I didn't get the file. You got the link. Check your spam. There's going to be a Microsoft one-time password. You're going to find the one-time password. Oh, no, our system doesn't allow for that. Can you just send it through regular email? All right. Now, let's do kind of a, Saved by the Bell, everything pauses, Zach Morris standing in the foreground here, and talk about it. What do you do? What do you do as a subcontractor?
You're going to not fulfill the order.
This thing is due yesterday, and your processor's telling you, just send the print.
Yeah, that's an extremely good question, because one could philosophically say that, it depending on the technologies in place, right? Obviously, that's a big conversation that would affect everything. But one could philosophically say that there could be exceptions accepted by those who are responsible for accepting the risk for the company to document that and allow that to happen. And I think that is probably where the biggest struggle is knowing enough about the nuances of risk management to be able to address problems like that in the moment with leadership, to sign off on the risk, accept the risk, document the risk, all the things that come into play with not following your policies and procedures to the T, and hoping for the best if you get audited or get assessed, right?
But who's going to do that, right?
Exactly. I think that is... I want to be careful. I think that is probably where the contractors need improvement. But to your point, it's a very profound thing, the way you said. It's probably a common phrase in just our general vernacular, but profound to say, if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. If you're a general or a prime that is so emphasizing the need to get this F-35 off the ground so that we can station them in Yemen or wherever we're putting them to be ready for some type of fight, are you really going to pull the plug on that provider because they haven't done their annual risk assessment or forgot to update their SBRS score.
Right.
I see your point. I feel like the ongoing threats of the FCA, False Claims Act, and all that stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but FCA is not just for cybersecurity violations. It's also levied against any non-compliance with a contractual obligation, including quality and timing.
Yeah. Yep.
So, are they going to threaten you with False Claims Act if you don't meet the due date?
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Because wasn't that the original reason for the FCA? Is it came out during the Civil War because people were selling duds to the government.
That's a good question. That's fascinating. I need to look that up.
I think that's where it came from. Is there were contractors back then, private companies that the government bought like bullets and stuff from, and they were delivering duds.
Wow, so things really haven't changed.
Not much.
Well,
humanity
what's the definition of crazy? What's the definition of crazy?
Doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah.
I have said, though, that, and if I were in charge, somebody put me in charge tomorrow. Well, first off, they'd be really dumb. But second,
I don't think so.
I would immediately say, okay, we're drawing the line in the sand when it comes to CUI. And we're just going to say, we're going to make the assumption the bad guys have the prints from 1972. Can we just all agree that the bracket for the ground support equipment for an F-22 or for C-130 or for whatever, can we just agree, can we stop pretending that that's so vitally important that it needs to go through FIPS validation?
Or an SOP on how to navigate a public website.
Come on. Let's focus on the stuff that we don't want the bad guys to have. The stuff that we know for a fact. No, they don't have this.
Yeah.
Moving forward, because then we can focus our efforts. Then we know for a fact this is not out there.
Yeah, I think that's a common agreement. I don't know really many people, if any, that would. I think even on the DoD side that there's a common agreement that there's a lot of work to be done on the KO and the prime side to do a better job of marking CUI, redacting, things like that.
That's the other thing, is it would help with marking, because then we could just say, all right, we don't have to go back and mark old stuff. Now it's not a retrofit activity.
Right.
Say, moving forward, effective now, this is what things look like.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. I'd put you in charge, at least for a day.
Sweet. I get so much done in a day.
At least for a day.
So much done in a day, trust me.
Well, the reason I brought that up is, I guess maybe this is more specific, and I know a lot of practitioners have talked about this, but maybe for the more layman people who are not reading the 32 CFR for themselves, they're just trying to somebody tell me what to do kind of thing. But one thing that always bothers me, because I'm very empathetic towards small businesses, I think that's kind of IntelliGRC. We cater to everybody. We serve everybody with our product and with our services team. But we started with a heart to help small businesses who have no commodity to cybersecurity compliance. None. They don't have the budget for it at all. They've not considered it. They're just now coming around to it. A lot of them. And one of the things that bothers me is when I hear them say that, I say yes and amen. That is true. The DFAR 7012 was required since 2016 to be 800.171 to be implemented by 2017. But what was not required in 2017? A thorough understanding of the CMMC scoping guidance and the implementation of the requirements on security protection assets.
Good call.
Or CRMA.
Good call.
Or a concept called security protection data. That wasn't there at all. And every time that they point it out to justify that it was there, they point at the abstract for NIST 800.171 that references assets that provide security functions and protections. I'm like, okay, fine. You define for me then what that is and whether that was the function itself or an asset, and where does that say anything about security protection data at all? Vulnerability scan results, logs.
Yeah. And when they're done with that, ask them if they could tell me what they would have the speeds and feeds look like to properly get some guide pins out for a large production run. I mean, it's like if you're a machine shop, those are the things you're focused on. You're not an expert on this stuff.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point is, yeah, you can tell me that I need to have cameras in my facilities. Fair enough. You can tell me that if I have actual, obviously marked CUI sitting on a piece of paper, that it needs to probably be locked up at the end of the day when nobody's using it. Okay, fair enough. And I need to have audit logs for the machines that I'm using. Like, I get it. But one of the conversations, and I don't know if you saw the recent one that discussion that I had with like Glenda Snodgrass and Jeff Baldwin recently, going back and forth about the implications of security protection data versus and what that looks like. You know, has there ever been a conversation since 2017 up until the proposed rule, essentially, right, when we're really introduced to this security protection data thing, where if you take a vulnerability scan result for one of your CUI assets, so it is sensitive, right? It is really sensitive. I totally agree that it is sensitive, something that should be protected from an ethical perspective. Is there any conversation before the proposed rule where if you take those vulnerability scan results and print PDF or something like that and go and save it on an iCloud, that the iCloud, using the language of the CMMC scoping guide, which I understand where Glenda's coming from, the implications of this position. I just think it's just what they've written in the regulation. I hate my position, but I just think it's the truth. But is there any conversation about that for a contractor to put logs or put vulnerability scan results somewhere, and then that be brought in as part of the assessment as a security protection asset, protecting security protection data? Was there any conversation about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it goes back to kind of what you said, is this, there's certain things to this that people aren't thinking about. I mean, you could even say that, you said it earlier with the primes and the outside processing, why haven't they thought about this, or why haven't they thought?
Yeah. Well, it's what you said. It's like, at the end of the day, how does this actually affect the warfighter?
Right.
Getting the things they need to survive in a middle of a fight. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're getting me worked up, Allison. Calm it down.
I'm sorry. Well, to your point, we've often, I know this argument comes up too, is I think we catch a lot more risk, or we'd address much more risk if we just tackled a single thing, and that was MFA. Like, let's just start off.
You make this point in one of your recent articles, and I really like it.
Just do that. Like, just
that. Take bite-sized pieces. Yeah.
And if you just did that one thing, I think that you'd check the box on a lot of things. First off, I want to say it's Microsoft that's done the research that says you'd stop 90% of incidents, right? I mean, it's something stupid, it's something dumb, something like, oh, come on, really?
It's a big deal. Yeah. I mean,
that's first. Next, you'd also vet who wants to play this game, because if anyone's like, nah, I don't, not interested. Okay, thanks for saving me the time.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Yeah, it's seeing people who at least put effort in to implement very important controls. I think CMMC is a good thing. I think DFAR 7012 was a good thing and is a good thing. I just think the nuances around it have made it so murky that it's hard for an MEP, a manufacturer, to know what is, for lack of better terms, what is bare minimum so that I can get back to doing what I do, but also meet your requirements and try to secure this data in good conscience. So I agree with you. There's so much balance that we have to do. And it's part of maturity. Like, being 27 years old, sometimes that's a hard thing to grasp. But like, I do think that there is a good balance that can be had between the priorities, but the priorities but also the practical, what is going to keep my business running and put food in my kids' mouths, which is one reason why I'm really, the most recent thing for me, I'm really frustrated, and I'm empathetic towards businesses because, we're a SaaS company that's going to be more than likely an SBA. So we're working on FedRAMP stuff, but as an option. But we're not a contractor. So the implications for us are not as obviously near and dear to our hearts. We help people who it's near and dear to their hearts. But the thing that frustrates me the most recently is this clarification of the 32 CFR that 10-day reevaluation period is no longer allowed to be used to actually fix problems. It's only allowed to be used to present more evidence for something that was already implemented that they just couldn't get to. And that's not how the 32 CFR was written. That does bother me, because what happens when a manufacturer like you guys or similar, I know you guys have a lot more experience with CMMC, but a lot of them don't. What happens when they actually misunderstand 3.4.5 about physical logical access restrictions related to changes? What happens if they misunderstand that control? They do their best to implement it, but they miss the mark because they didn't understand it.
Right.
And it's actually not implemented. But they could implement a process within that 10 days, train everybody on how to do it and do it.
And you're dissuading, it's actually a disincentive by taking that option away. Because if you're saying now, okay, well, that's no longer on the table, and I know it's no longer, okay, well, fine, then I'm not going to freaking do it. Then fine. Then if this is not even worth it, then fine, whatever. I'm throwing.
But by that point, the company's already spent $150,000, $170,000 to implement the requirements. They put a lot of time and investment. That's got to be detrimental.
It's so confusing to me, because in the world of manufacturing, ISO 9001 and AS 9100, the quality management system certifications, those are all sample audits. Those are not you do not go 320 objective. You don't go through every single item word for word and ask for policies and proof and evidence and everything. You have a sample audit. It is literally a third of the standard that they go through once a year and go, all right, what's going on? Let's show me this.
Walk surveillance.
Show me how you do this. So it's a learning curve. The assessment itself is a learning curve.
Yeah, it is
for manufacturers.
That just the sheer amount of information they got to get for the intake to get scheduled is a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I guess there's so much I want to talk to you about. Maybe we'll have to do another one of these. I will say, I do want to hear about your stuff with NDISAC, because Ozzy's talked to me about some of it. Terry Hebert, not Haybear, has talked to me a little bit about it. So just for the listener, could you explain what NDISAC is? And then could you kind of just explain how it's impacting things and the work you've been doing, whatever you can, of course.
Sure. Yeah, no. NDISAC is the National Defense Information Sharing and Analysis Center. It's a great organization. I got involved. It's in layman's terms, it's a community of defense industrial base partners who we're all supporting the DIB, and it's a community of people that have an established trust, that share different things that they're seeing in their worlds, whether that's on their networks, whether that's among their own companies, technical and otherwise.
Yeah.
They share best practices. We've got a bunch of different working groups. So whatever you're kind of interested in, you get together. We've got a small medium business working group. Terry and I run that. There's a policies working group run by Sandy Throneberry of Lockheed. She's like my hero. I love her. She's great, and that's one of the bigger working groups. Sandy. She's great. There's like 80 people that show up to that once a month. And that's fascinating because there's always a recap of kind of what everybody's watching in terms of policies and rules. And that's great because it is kind of my monthly reminders as to, okay, what's out there? What do I need to make comments on for Federal Register? And so that is when when those meetings happen, I sit there with my calendar open and I'm like, okay, I'm putting things on my calendar. I need to make sure that I submit a rule comment for this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And so those are really good. I got involved in it because I guess a couple of years ago, it must have been 2019, maybe right before John and I bought the business. Might have been the year of, I don't remember. But I remember talking to Wayne with Raytheon, with RTX. And we got talking. He was telling me about NDISAC, became a member. I opened up the board, the picture of all the board members, and I thought, this is just a bunch of people who all are with the big primes. Like, come on, man. And I walked into John's office and I said, hey, open this up. And he opens up and he goes, none of them look like you. And he kind of looked at me laughing. And I said, I'm going to be on that board next year. And he goes, you're going to run the board next year. I said, no, thank you. No, thank you.
Going, Allison.
No. And so I joined the board, threw my name in the hat. So now on the board, it's a great group. Everybody gives a damn. You know, that's even when you don't agree with people, with people's perspectives, or because you have to respect the fact that
they're authentic about it. Yeah.
You know, everybody's got their own goals. Okay, we're all for the war fighter. Okay, yeah, we get it. But
one fight.
But everybody also, especially with the big primes, everybody's salaries are based on different goals. So, you know, I'm hyper aware of that. I have become much more hyper aware of the flexibility and autonomy and freedom I have, because I can run my mouth.
We know. No, I'm just kidding.
If my husband watches this, he's going to hear you say that and go, see?
Yeah. Hello, husband of Allison.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've become acutely aware how, not like I hope I don't have mouth diarrhea, but you know, there are plenty of times that I do say things that maybe I shouldn't. But at the same, I don't really regret the things I'm saying. Not many times.
Oh man.
But I do truly think, like I have said to my big prime friends on the side, I've said, if there are things that you need me to say as a supplier on your behalf, and you can't say them for whatever reason, feed them to me. I am more than happy.
Yeah, to bring it up.
If they benefit me, hell yeah, I'm going to say it. And so, you know, whether that's, of course I'm going to play the game, you know, but I'm in this because my primes are my customer and I'm going to make them happy. That's my number one priority. Yes, right. Yes, the warfighter is my number one, but my customer is my number one priority. I'm not, you know, I'm not pulling one over on somebody. I'm not going to stand up there and go.
I think if people would be a little bit more honest and blunt and say, I have a family at home I got to put food on the table for, they come before the warfighter. I think a lot of people would be a little bit more acquiescent and compassionate towards where business leaders are at on a lot of this stuff.
What do they say? You can't, you please put the oxygen mask on yourself before you
Exactly. Yeah. You can't help others until your business is running smoothly. You guys are profitable. You can't. Yeah. 100%. And we need to make sure we have legitimate, practical, like, priorities. I don't think it's wrong to say that I love my family first.
Right.
I have to take care of my family first. They're my first ministry. They're my first priority.
Yep. And for all people know, my family, they are war fighters.
Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot. And that's what's so ironic is a lot of them are also that priority. So yeah. I think that makes sense.
My uncle flew F-14s during the Gulf War, and it was his, he was one of the guys that put the laser on the target. And
wow.
His favorite thing to do is land on an aircraft carrier at night. What a weirdo.
I hate planes. I'm scared of flying. So, I mean, I do it anyway, but yeah, I would not be landing at night.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right. Thoughts on Rev 3? Haven't talked about it too much.
Oh, gross.
Gross. Oh, I actually thought you might have had some optimism about it.
No.
Well, explain to me gross, because I that's actually interesting. I want to hear about this.
So, okay.
For the listener, by the way, I'm talking about NIST 800-171 Rev 3. It's not required yet, but we're telling people they need to start at least mentally preparing for it. And if you can implement the requirements now as part of your Rev 2 implementation, all that jazz. So that's what we're talking about.
So, okay, I will preface this with a brief story. Anytime that I have something new on technology, like when Windows 10 went to 11, I was not happy. Or when when my sainted MSP Sentinel Blue, sorry Andy, changed RMM tools a while back. I was not happy.
Sorry, Andy. Come on, Andy.
Sorry, Ben. Sorry, Ben. I was not happy because it was something new for me to figure out, and user errors and all this stuff, right? So I remember sitting at home and I was witching and moaning about something, and Matt said to me, he's like, you don't like anything new that you can't work at the speed of lightning that you had already had muscle memory on something else. And I was like, I think that's it. I think you're right. If I can't go on autopilot, yeah, it pisses me off. So
you're used to Rev 2.
Well, that's kind of
what
part
you're
of
getting
it.
at.
That's kind of part of it. Kind of part of it. But the other piece of it is, I feel like we've asked all these contractors, hey, everybody, we're all going to get together and we're going to go run a marathon. And you got all these people that are like, ooh, yeah, I'm not a runner. And we're like, okay, well, that's cool. That's cool. We're going to train. We're going to first run 5Ks. And we're like, well, yeah, but I'm really not a runner. And you're like, okay, all right, that's fine. We're going to walk the 5K first. And we're going to ease into it. We're like, okay, all right. And so we do that for a little while. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, you know what? We're done walking the 5K. Let's just go run the marathon. You're like, whoa, time out. I feel like that's what we're doing with NIST 800-171 Rev 3. The ODPs that a lot of us are going to be introduced to are going to be mind-blowing, I think, to say the least.
16-character passwords.
Right. Well, and
Microsoft doesn't even support that.
and I think that's part of it. Is they're just more layers of things that I don't think have been thought through. And again, are we talking? We're still talking CUI, right? Like this isn't right. This is CUI, right? I mean, are we talking CUI or is this now a classified program? I am still unsure now at this point.
That is a very good point.
I mean,
no poems.
Right. So I think what we're
180
doing,
days, but yeah.
I think whoever's making these rules needs to take a psychology class and needs to understand that what they're doing is, if anybody's coming along and is kind of on the fence and is kind of making the decisions, okay, I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to jump in. And now they're starting to get wind. Oh, by the way, all this stuff over here is going to happen. The risk now of them going, you know what? We're going to stick with commercial. Let's get out of this space. What's scarier? A shrinking base? I mean, jokes aside, one of the things that several of us used to ask in mixed company was, what is the acceptable attrition rate of the DIB?
Whoa, yeah.
I don't. What is?
What happens when there's nobody to make that plain part?
Right. All because somebody didn't want to go to Rev 3 because of, in my opinion, what might be overkill for CUI. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally off base. Maybe CUI has been under. What's the word I'm looking at?
Under prioritized.
Yeah, maybe all along. Maybe I'm totally off base. Completely possible. But if that's the case, then maybe those of us working with it should be cleared. We're not cleared. Win-Tech is not a cleared contractor. I'm not a cleared contractor.
That's interesting. I mean, we joke around all the time. It's like, if the government wants to treat us like classified ATOs, why not just give us GFEs and give us all the equipment and we'll work on their stuff? But hey, I also, I'm there's a little bit of jest for you DoD people that might listen to this.
And that's okay. And that's I have to throw this in there. And thankfully with NDISAC, they do a wonderful job of kind of being a conduit to what they call the DIB SEC and the DIB GCC programs and things like that. You don't have to be a member of NDISAC to be a member of those things, but it's nice because a lot of times those meetings and things intersect and overlap.
Yeah, reciprocity of the conversations.
They're great. Yeah. But so I had the honor of getting to know a lot of the DoD folks, and they're awesome. They're awesome. Like the policy writers, the folks. I'm not even going to mention any names because I know I'll get in trouble because I probably shouldn't mention.
I'll mention name. James Galooly has been awesome.
I don't know him as well. I've heard great things.
Yeah,
and I've talked to a bunch of policy peeps, and they've been great. And so I don't know if it's people at the very top that are just making decisions, signing off. And we've all been there. We've all had bosses like that you're like, I told you this, and you made this decision. Why did you do that? So I feel for them. But
I'm sure there's a lot of that. I mean, at the end of the day, we always have to come back to it is what it is. Unfortunately, for a lot of this. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It probably is a lot of that, I would assume. Yeah. I know we're running a little bit out of time, but I did have at least one more thing I wanted to ask you about. So, you wrote an article here recently. I'm going to get a little controversial. An article here recently, where you talked about just how to managing GRC for small businesses, essentially, how to manage CMMC for small businesses. And I guess my question is, because you state in there, let me find it here. Your recent article. Yeah, you state that. Now, hear me out. I'm not being antagonistic. I promise.
Go for it.
I'm being genuine here. You state GRC tools for the sake of GRC tools will be deleted from any recommendations that you add to the list of things, because you asked, you're talking about in that article some practical things you can do for like Conmon, for example. Set up reminders in Outlook to do your annual risk assessment and your annual a tabletop test and things like that. Use Outlook, use your calendar, things like that. You don't have to buy another tool or another piece of software. But I could tell from that, and maybe I'm off base, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I could tell that you are really opposed to just buying software and spending money that when it may take a little bit more effort, but you can use what you already have. And I actually really agree with that. But one thing I wanted to ask is, as an employee of a GRC company, obviously, I am genuinely interested to know, because we're partners, we have a relationship, I think a good relationship. What are the major problems with tools, not just GRC tools, but including GRC tools? What are the major problems that you're seeing, especially from a small business, medium-sized business perspective, with such tools like GRC tools? What do they lack? Is a big thing, I think. And really, honestly, what would make them better, to make them worthwhile for small businesses to acquire them as part of the tool belt, in addition to using things like Outlook calendars and things like that, but makes them worth the cost? Like what in your opinion, what could they do better?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad. No, good question. So that post, if you've noticed, sometimes I'll put caveats in there because I am inundated with sales pitches. And so as much as that might have come across as like, oh my gosh, no GRC recommendations, it was more of a, don't you pitch your crap on my post. That's more of what it was. I have found that when I genuinely ask for people to provide input and thoughts. I'm generally inundated with, here's what I say, small business can call me, direct message me, and all on average, I'll wake up and have 10 private messages. I saw your post. Here's this. If you're entering your CMMC journey, click here. It's like, oh, jeez and Pete's. And full disclosure, I go and report every single one of them as a fraud/scam. So
do not send Allison a message on LinkedIn.
If you are dumb enough to ask me if I am starting my CMMC journey,
that is awesome.
Every single one of them.
Every single one.
Somewhere there's a LinkedIn
now
person.
You know.
Somewhere there's a LinkedIn
You've been
person.
ghosted by Allison. It's because you have been reported to LinkedIn as a fraud.
Somewhere
that is awesome.
There's a LinkedIn person doing quality control going, God, this person gets a lot of fraud.
That is great.
No, but to answer your question, like what are the tools and what are the software applications, things like that small business misses or is lacking? What are the problems that we see? So while you were asking that, I was trying to think like, what are some of the things that I actively see day to day, or what do I feel is missing?
Yeah.
I find that I gravitate towards tools that I can do lots of things on the same thing. So kind of going back to what I was saying earlier with the muscle memory, right? Like, and I'm sure you have the same thing where if you, like, I'm a Gmail user for personal stuff. And so, you could basically, if I had that screen open on a certain window, I could, with my eyes closed, click and know where I was at.
Right.
So
right. It's not convoluted.
And so I to small businesses, I don't want to have 7 different applications for 7 different things. I'd rather have 3 different things for those 7 different tasks.
Needs. Yeah.
And it's not, I see a lot of like, ooh, this integrates with this and this integrates with this. In my world, it doesn't matter as much. And that's not to say it doesn't matter in other people's worlds.
Right.
On the shop floor for us, so we use an ERP that I'm not even going to mention because I'm not happy with. So I'm not going to give them any advertisement. Don't love them.
Bad advertisement.
Don't love them. If I had $1 million, I'd be moving ERPs. And just watch, now I'm going to be inundated with ERP messages.
Yeah, here it comes, Allison. More people to report. I did this to you.
You did. I blame you. But it integrates with a quality software that isn't so bad. And so that integration is good because then the ERP can have
all that data ready for you right there in the same pane of glass.
Right. And then when there is a quality issue, you can do something in the quality thing and it pulls in the info from the job. You don't have to, okay, that's great. Perfect. Nice.
Yeah. It needs to be practical for the user, or else it's not going to get adopted.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I think that's part of it. The other piece is definitely cost. I mean, just cost in general. There was, I'm trying to remember, there was something that I wanted to look into. Oh, it was an AI platform that I was looking at. I'm not going to mention names because I don't know if I'm going to slip and say something about the specific price when I tell you this, so I'm not going to get in trouble. I was looking at a specific chatting platform. It wasn't ChatGPT. That's not what this was. It was an AI platform, and I wanted to see if I could kind of test some things out among certain personnel at Win-Tech that I knew could be trusted not to upload certain things. Because that's, of course, that's a concern. We're kind of dipping our toes into what kind of AI policy would we have and what would we allow, how do we work smarter, not harder, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so there's certain people in the admin space that are very tech savvy and that I think could benefit from use of AI. And I would like to allow them to use it. I don't want them to use the free version. I want them to use a version that would be kind of an on-prem version or, a version.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay,
I have a suggestion for you, but yeah, I'll let you.
Okay, good. We'll talk later. Well, yeah. I was looking and getting a quote, and I got a quote, and it was absurd. And I was like, okay, absurd might be the wrong word. I couldn't justify it.
Right.
And maybe if I sat down and really thought about it, maybe I could, because I'd be like, oh, wow, this really would save a lot of time overall. It's not going to be an immediate ROI, but it really could save some time. But to a small business owner, I'm also thinking cash flow. So I'm like, those kinds of things I think are impactful. I think those pieces matter.
So one of your suggestions then would be let your pricing model take that into account, like number of people in the company that would be using the product.
Yes.
Or that would at least be represented by the product's tenant, rather than flat rate, enterprise focused, big name customer pricing models.
Yeah, scalable for the small, because there's not there's somebody somebody on the Discord that you probably know just as well as I do, that once gave me some great advice, and I take it with me everywhere I go. Every time I have to renew software, and I shouldn't even say this. Every time I have to renew software and I get a quote, I push back every single time, because this person gave me advice once, and he said, when you get a quote from, and he listed a few of these things, he said, they're all upcharged. They're all upselling you. They all have buffer. And I'm like, really? How do you know that? He's like, just trust me. I'm like, okay. And so I always push back, and I always get them to come down a little. It might be a few bucks, but you know what? It's a few bucks.
Hey, $50 is $50.
Exactly. Yeah. So that tells me, and am I happy to save $50 a year or 20, whatever it ends up being? Sure. But honestly, when it happens, I'm pissed.
That they offered you it higher in the first place.
Exactly. Like, just tell me what it is.
Yeah.
What, come on. And yes, software companies, applications, they have to make money. They have to put money on the table just like I do.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
But come on, man.
Yeah. Well, I know I want to be conscientious of our time, because you're running a big old Win-Tech manufacturing shop. So I need to be careful. But
you're all good. All good.
I did want to ask a couple more things, just on the more personal level. Anything else that people... I have to ask one thing. Because you put it on the form. It's fair game. I heard or saw that you do stand-up, or have done stand-up comedy. Lay it on me. Tell me a joke.
Oh my God. Well, it wasn't that kind of stand-up, but...
What kind of stand-up was it?
No, I mean, it was that kind of stand-up. You're like, wait, wasn't the funny kind? No.
Yeah, I was like, what? Not funny stand-up?
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was, almost 10 years ago at this point. But it was something it was New Year's Eve, and I decided I was in a rut, and I went on the Book of Face, and I said, Facebook. I said to friends, I said, hey, I want to do something new in the new year. If you were me, what class would you take, or what would you do new? And I was inundated with people being like, go do stand-up. I'll come watch you go do stand-up. And I'm like, well, that'd be a lot of fun. And so I went and took a class, and then did it twice, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun, and it was an adrenaline rush. And the first time I got on stage at the Punchline in Atlanta, the same place that, Gilbert Gottfried, Robin Williams, all these famous people. First time I got on stage, I thought I was going to throw up all over the place. Oh my God.
Because you're all nervous.
Oh my God. But the moment that I started, everything was fine. And it was just so much fun. It was so much fun. It was one of the hardest things ever.
Is there video evidence?
Yes.
Where can I find this video evidence? You can send it to me in an email, please.
Maybe.
Okay, I'll stick with a maybe. Okay. Well, Allison, I've loved the conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's a lot of time. Again, I've admired you from afar, and I really appreciate all that you're doing, all the conversation you're having, and how you're helping people just try to work through things. So, where can people find you, connect with you? Anything like, I'm obviously LinkedIn. Please mention that too. But where can people find you and kind of keep up with you?
Definitely on LinkedIn. And if you if you want to connect with me, please message me, like include a note and say that you saw this podcast, because if you connect with me or you ask to connect with me and you don't, I may or may not accept, depending on what time of day and what mood I'm in.
Fences that friends list, baby.
Right? But if you say you saw it here, then I know you're a human and not some Russian bot. Or maybe you are a Russian bot and you're watching this, which in that case, you're weird. But
okay, you're still doing stand-up. You just not on a stage. That's awesome.
So yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me that way. And if you're in the Atlanta area, then definitely let me know, and I don't know, I'd say we hang out, but I don't really have time for that. So
ain't nobody got time for that.
I'm just kidding.
Well, awesome. Well, Allison, thank you again, and everybody be on the lookout for the next one. Thanks again.
Have a great time.